So always you'll be computing the basic custom duty on the assessable value 10%, you'll get this much of value, that is 4,43,680. So subsidy we are not supposed to consider, because any subsidy provided by the central government or the state government, that should not be added to the computation of value of supply. So after deducting the output tax payable and adjustments, you are going to get the balance net GST payable. Hello everyone, I am Arun Kumar, lecturer in Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Dear students, welcome to this new session. So in this session, dear students, we will be solving the model question paper on the subject Indirect Taxes 2, which is there for 6th Sem BCom student who are studying under University of Mysuru. So dear students, in this particular session, we will be solving the model question paper. It will consist of all the three parts, that is part A, part B and part C. So you all know that in part A they will be asking 4 questions which carries 5 marks each. So totally it will be 20 marks, and in part B they will be asking 3 questions into 10 marks each, 30 marks totally from part B, and part C you are supposed to answer 2 questions which carries 15 marks, so totally 30. So total you are supposed to attend for 80 marks. So totally we have part A, part B and part C. So in part A they will be asking 4 questions which carries 5 marks each, totally for 20 marks, and part B they will be asking 3 questions which carries 10 marks each, so 30 marks from part B. Part C, 2 questions which carries 15 marks each, totally for 30 marks in part C. The total marks for the paper, the weightage for the paper is 80 marks. So let us start with part C, because they will be asking question for 15 marks. So that is why we start with part C. So in part C they will be asking 4 questions. Okay, they will be asking 4 questions and you are supposed to attend any 2 questions. Okay, they will be asking 4 questions and you are supposed to attend any 2 questions. So the first question always they will be asking from customs duty. Okay, so how the question they will ask: from the following particulars compute assessable value and customs duty payable. Yes, compulsorily they ask this question, and 100% they have to ask this question in the exam. They can't skip this part, because this is the main chapter what you have in your particular subject. So from the following particulars compute the assessable value and custom duty payable. This is for 15 marks. So they will be giving you the cost of machine, design and development charges, packing charges, technical charges, transportation cost, insurance charges, basic custom duty, compensation cess, I GST and exchange rate. So they will be giving all these informations relating to the particular transaction. So by using this information you are supposed to compute the assessable value and custom duty payable. So while you are computing the assessable value, what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to consider the exchange rate. So what is the exchange rate we have in this problem? The exchange rate we have is 74 rupees per dollar. We have 74 rupees per dollar. So here cost of the machine, and here you are going to take foreign currency and Indian currency. So foreign currency they will be paying $45,000 into 74, you will get 33,30,000. And next add packing charges. Yes, obviously for cost of machine we are supposed to add the expenditures which are incurred up to the port. So packing charges is given, technical charges is given, design and development charges is given. So add these 3 items. Here you will get the total in Indian rupees 36,63,000. So for that add a transportation cost and insurance cost. So in this problem transportation is given or not? Yes, transportation is given, but it is port to factory. So what we are supposed to do now? If the transportation is not given, they are given, but the given transportation is occurred in India. So any expenditure occurred in India, that should not be considered. So now what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to calculate 20% of FOB value as transportation cost. 20% of FOB value as transportation cost. So if you compute 20%, you will get 7,32,000 600. And add insurance. Yes, insurance value is given in the problem, but insurance charges is from port to factory. This value is given, so this also we are not supposed to consider. So now what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to add 1.125% of FOB value as insurance charges. So if you compute 1.125%, you will get 41,209. So total these two values with FOB value, you will get some total. The total is 44,36,809. So that total is called, that is assessable value. Next, you are supposed to compute the custom duty payable. So they were asked you to find out the basic custom duty, social and welfare surcharge, IGST and compensation cess. So always you will be computing the basic custom duty on the assessable value, 10%, you will get this much of value, that is 4,43,680. Next, social welfare surcharge, obviously always you will be computing the social welfare surcharge on the basic custom duty, that is on 4,43,680 into 10%, you will get 44,368. Next, IGST will be computing on basic custom duty, assessable value and social welfare charge. Next, compensation cess, again you will be computing on the assessable value. So if you total these four taxes, you will get the grand total, that is 22,61,884. That value is called what? Customs duty payable. So this is how you are supposed to attend for question number 1, that is for computation of assessable value and custom duty payable for 15 marks. Moving on to the second problem in part C. Venkatesh Associates Bangalore supplied certain chemicals to Ragulal Mysore on 10/3/2022 and further information is given below. So this is with respect to computation of taxable value of supply. With respect to computation of taxable value of supply. So he will be giving you some information relating to a particular supply and you are supposed to find out the taxable value. So here in this problem they are given the information relating to supplied 50 tons of chemicals at 40,000 per ton and freight charges is given, packing charges is given, weighing expenses is given and cost of instruments to produce chemicals is given, insurance up to the place of delivery and loading and handling charges and cost of pre-delivery inspection charges by Ragulal on behalf of the supplier and subsidy received from state government rupees 50 lakhs. Next, date of issue of invoice and due date of payment, and at the last they asked you to find out the value of taxable supply and GST payable. So in this problem you will be considering all the points, except this subsidy. So subsidy we are not supposed to consider because any subsidy provided by the central government or the state government, that should not be added to the computation of value of supply. Except that we will be adding all other items. So particulars, amount. So what is the cost of the supply, the selling price? Here they are given 50 tons into 40,000 per ton. So 50 tons into 40,000 per ton, you will get rupees 20 lakhs. How much you will get? You will get rupees 20 lakhs. Next, add other expenditures relating to that particular supply. So freight charges, packing charges, weighing charges, cost of instruments, insurance charges, loading charges, pre-delivery inspection charges. So add all these items and take it to the outer column. You will get 7,12,000. So add 7,01,000 with the selling price. So what is the amount? It is 20 lakh. Totally you will get 27,12,000. So the 27,12,000 is called what? Transaction value or taxable value. So 27,12,000 is called transaction value or taxable value. So on that what you are supposed to compute? You are supposed to compute 18% GST. So here they are not mentioned that whether the transaction is happening within the state or not. So if nothing is mentioned, you have to assume that the transaction is happening within the state. So 9% CGST, 9% SGST. So compute 9% and 9% on 27,12,000. You will get 2,44,080, 2,44,080, total of rupees 4,88,160. So this 4,88,160 is the GST payable. And if you add GST payable with transaction value, you will get 32 lakh 160. 32 lakh 160. That value is called what? Total value of supply. Only this much. If you compute this much, you'll get 15 marks. How much you'll get? You'll get 15 marks. So, to score 30 marks, in part C, to score 30 marks, see, if you concentrate more on customs duty and on computation of value of supply, this is sufficient. Okay, if you concentrate on customs duty and computation of value of supply, these two, if you know these two problems, need not to study other problems. Okay, need not to study other chapters. So, if you know first unit and sixth unit, so easily you can score 30 marks in part C. So, moving on to the next question, question number 3. This is relating to your chapter number 2, that is input tax credit. So, you will be asking 15 marks question from input tax credit. Mr. Raghu, a supplier, gives the following details. Compute GST payable. Yes. So, from this information you are supposed to find out the net GST payable by Mr. Raghu. So, sales is given, outward supply and inward supply. So, intra-state supply, that is within the state supply, it is 30 lakhs, 17 lakhs. Interstate, that is between the state supply, 8 lakhs and 2 lakh 50,000. So, opening balance of input tax credit, IGST 90,000, CGST 55,000, SGST 1,50,000, and the supplier are exclusive of GST at 18%. So, now what you are supposed to find out? First, you are supposed to find out the output tax and the input tax. So, output tax. So, intra-state supply, it is within the state, that is why IGST is not applicable. So, 30 lakhs into 18%, in that 9%, 9%. So, 9% CGST, 9% SGST. Next, interstate supply, that is between two states. So, 18% directly on 8 lakh rupees. So, IGST is 1 lakh 44, CGST and SGST nil. So, total comes to 1 lakh 44, 2 lakh 70 and 2 lakh 70. Next, interstate supply 17 lakh, IGST is nil, 1 lakh 53, 1 lakh 53, and interstate supply 2 lakh 50,000 at 18%, you'll get 45,000. So, 45,000, 1 lakh 53, 1 lakh 53,000. So, computation of net GST payable. So, for computation of net GST payable, what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to first, along with the available ITC, you are supposed to add the input tax credit available. Okay, along with that, you are supposed to add input tax credit available. See, from that total, see here, rupees 1 lakh 35, 2 lakh 8,000 and 3 lakh 3,000. So, from that, you are supposed to deduct the outward tax payable. So, after deducting the outward tax payable and adjustments, you are going to get the balance net GST payable. The balance net GST payable. So, this is how you are supposed to solve the problem. Next one, question number 4. So, question number 4, always it will be a theory question, that is relating to registration procedure under GST. So, explain the registration procedure under GST. Almost every time they will be asking this question, and this time also I hope they will ask the same question in your exam for 15 marks. So, if you are not good in practicals, if you know any one numerical, along with that you can study this theory question also for 15 marks. So, answer is, first you have to explain what is GST registration under the GST purview and how it works, and who are all the people is supposed to be registered under the GST council and who are all eligible to register under the GST council, and you are also answered, or you are also supposed to write the required documents for registration. So, what and all the documents required, like PAN card is required, Aadhaar card Xerox is required, and proof of business registration is required, and identity and address proof is required, and bank account statement is required. Next, authorization letter is required, and digital signature is required. So, this much of information you are supposed to write, this much of content you are supposed to write to get or to score 15 marks for this particular question. So, totally we solve 4 questions under part C, right? So, in that 4 you are supposed to attend only 2 questions. In 4 you are supposed to attend only 2 questions. So, if you are good in practicals, study chapter 1 and chapter 2. If you are good in practicals, study chapter 1 plus chapter 2, or chapter 1 plus chapter 6. So easily you can score good marks. So if you study customs duty, it's very easy. You can score 15 marks. And if you study value of supply, it is also very easy. You can score 15 marks. So 15 plus 15, 30 marks from part C. Next, moving on to part B, where you will be getting 3 questions which carries 10 marks each. In part B, they will be asking 3 questions which carries 10 marks each. So in that, the first one, compute the transaction value of goods under GST Act from the following information and GST payable. So here also they will be asking one more question from value of supply for 10 marks. So in 15 marks also they will be asking value of supply, and in 10 marks also they will be asking value of supply. So selling price of supply is given, that is rupees 8 lakhs. Advertising charges is given, design and development is given, publicity is given, and packing charges is given, service charges is given, freight charges, loading charges is given, and discount allowed is 10%, and the GST applicable is 12%. So by using this information, you are supposed to find out the value of supply. So what you are supposed to do? First you have to take selling price of supply, that is 8 lakh. For that, add the expenditures, related expenditures. So you'll get the total and add the total. So if you total all the related expenditures, you'll get the total of 2,60,000. Add that with 8 lakh. So totally you'll get 10,60,000. So from 10,60,000 less discount of 10%. So always you will be calculating the discount on the selling price. So 10% on 8 lakh, you will get 80,000. Deduct 80, you will get the balance of 9,80,000. So that 9,80,000 is called transaction value. So now compute the GST at 12%. So CGST 6%, SGST 6%. So 58,800, 58,800. Totally it is 1,17,600. So add it with the transaction value, you will get 10,97,600. That is called total value of supply. That is called total value of supply. So moving on to the next question. Write any 10 reasons for prohibition of importation and exportation by central government. Yes, write any 10 prohibitions of importation and exportation by central government. This question, every time you will be asking this question, and this time also compulsorily they will ask for 10 marks. So for that, the answer is prohibition on importation and exportation of goods. So why they prohibit? What are the reasons? That you have to write. You have to write any 10 reasons. The first reason is what? The maintenance of the security of India. Yes, to maintain the security of India, we are supposed to, put some, prohibitions on importation and exportation of goods. Next, the maintenance of public order and standards of decency or morality. Yes, that is also one of the reasons. And the prevention of smuggling, the prevention of shortage of goods of any description, the conservation of foreign exchange and the safeguarding of balance of payment, and the prevention of injury to the economy, the prevention of injury to the economy of the country by the uncontrolled import or export of gold or silver or any other goods, and the prevention of surplus of any agricultural product or the product of fisheries. And next, the maintenance of standards for the classification, grading or marketing of goods in international trade and the establishment of any industry. Next, the prevention of serious injury to domestic production of goods of any description, and the protection of human, animal or plant life or health, and the production of national treasures of artistic, historic or archaeological values, the conservation of exhaustible resources, and the protection of patents, trademarks, that is copyrights, designs and geographical indications. So if you write any 10 from this points, in this many points, if you write any 10 points, you will easily score 10 marks, and compulsorily they will ask this question for 10 marks. Moving further, they might ask you to write the contents of GSTR 2A. So what are the contents are there in GSTR 2A? So GSTR 2A is a view only dynamic GST return relevant for the recipient or buyer of goods and services. It contains the details of all inward supplies of goods and services, that is purchase made from GST registered supplier during a tax period. and the data is auto-populated based on the data filled by the corresponding supplier in their GSTR1 returns. Further data filled in the invoice furnishing facility by the QRMP taxpayer also get auto-filled. So this information you are supposed to write if they ask you the question to write the content of GSTR2A. Next one, the continuation of the same question. Since the GSTR2 is a read-only return, no action can be taken it. However, it is a referred by the buyers to claim the accurate input tax credit. So GSTR2, it's all about, it's a automatically populated invoice based upon the information filled by your supplier, and you can't manipulate anything in that GSTR2A. So along with that, you have to write some other information with respect to GSTR2A. So he might ask, he might not ask the question, but you have to study it. So to be in the safer side, if you study this question, they might ask in your exam. Next, question number 8, explain the contents of tax invoice. Yes, from this unit, from tax invoice, compulsorily they'll ask this question. Compulsorily they ask this question, that is, explain the content of tax invoice. So 10 marks, very easy. Wherever you go, you get to know what and all the contents are there in invoice, right? So that information, if you keep in mind and you write in an exam, you can easily score 10 marks. So what and all the content you can find in your invoice. So you can find the name, address and GST number of the supplier, and a consecutive serial number is one of the multiple series containing alphabets or numerals or special characters like hyphen or dash and slash. That is the GST number you will find in that way, and date of its issue, and name, address and GSTIN or UIN if registered of the recipient. Yes, you will also find the GST IN number and UIN number if that firm is a registered firm, and you can also find the name and address of the recipient and HSN code of the goods, that is what kind of goods you are purchasing. You will find the HSN code of the goods, and description of goods you can find, and quantity, how many goods you are purchasing, how many units you are purchasing, and total value of the supply is what is the total value of the supply. If you are purchasing 10 units, what is the total value of 10 units, and taxable value of supply of goods, that is what is the total taxable value of supply after giving the discounts and all, and the rate of tax applicable on that particular supply, and amount of tax charge. So if 18% of tax is applicable, so what is the total amount of 18% that you can see in the invoice, and place of supply along with the name and state, yes, from where they are supplying the goods, that you can easily find out, and address of delivery, whether the same is different from place of supply. Yes, so address of delivery is also most of important. So you have to mention the address of delivery, and you can find the address of delivery in invoice, and whether the tax is payable or reverse charge basis. Yes, whether the tax is payable by the buyer or it's a reverse charge basis tax, and signature, that is digital signature of the supplier. So this many informations you can find in your particular tax invoice. Next one, from the following information compute the assessable value. Yes, they might ask one more question for 10 marks from custom duty. For 15 marks also they will be asking question, and for 10 marks also they will be asking question. They might ask this kind of question to find out the assessable value. So cost of the machine, design and development charges, packing charges, technical charges, transportation cost from port to factory, this one we are not supposed to consider, and insurance from port to factory, this one also we are not supposed to consider, and exchange rate, yes, it is rupees 74. So to solve the problem, the cost of the machine, it is $45,000. If you compute, you will get 33,30,000. And for that, add some expenditures, that is packing charges, design and development and technical charges. You will get FOB value. So for FOB value, add, in this problem transportation and insurance is not given, add 20% of FOB as transportation and 1.125% of FOB as insurance charges. Totally you will get 44,36,809. That value is called assessable value. So they might ask this question for 10 marks in your exam. So this many questions they'll ask for 10 marks. So they'll be asking 5 questions for 10 marks. You're supposed to attend any 3 questions. So if you are good in computation of value of supply, computation of assessable value, and the one more theory question, that is the reasons for prohibition of importation and exportation or contents of tax invoice. If you are good in these 4 questions, you can easily attend any 3 questions. Next, moving further to part A, that is 5 marks questions. So you will be asking 4 questions. You are supposed to attend 4 questions out of 6 questions. Each carries 5 marks and totally for 20 marks. So you will be asking 6 questions. Out of 6, you are supposed to attend 4 questions. Each question carries 5 marks, totally for 20 marks. So you might ask you to mention the items inclusion in transaction value. Yes, while you are computing the transaction value under value of supply, what and all the items you are going to include? You might ask that question for 5 marks. So inclusion in the value of supply. So what and all we are going to include? The taxes, duties and fees and charges, amount incurred by the recipient on behalf of the supplier, and incidental expenses. Yes, incidental expenses with respect to that supply, and amount charged for activities done before delivery. Yes, before delivering the product, what and all the amount charged by the supplier, that amount is supposed to be included, and delayed payment charges. So delayed payment charges are also supposed to be added to the supply, and subsidy. Subsidy except the central and state government subsidy. If any private institutions or private corporations are going to give subsidy, that subsidy is supposed to be included. In taxes also, if any GST is applicable except GST, any other tax is paid, that is supposed to be included. So they might ask this question for 10 marks. Next one, states the advantages of registration under GST. Yes, if you register under the GST authority, what are the advantages you will get? So you might ask that question for 5 marks. So GST eliminates the cascading effect. Yes. Next, higher threshold limit for registration, composition scheme for small businesses, simple and easy online procedure, the number of compliances are lesser, defined treatment for e-commerce operators, and improved efficiency of logistics. These are all the advantages you will get if you register under the GST authority. Next one, give a list of various forms under GST returns. Yes, unit number 5 deals with GSTR returns. From that particular chapter, you might ask question for 5 marks. So you might ask 5 marks question like this: give the list of various forms under GST returns. So these are all the various GSTR returns what we have under GST returns. So GSTR 1, 2A, 2B, 3B, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9A, 9B, 9C, and GSTR 10 and GSTR 11. So it's very easy. See, GSTR 1, GSTR 2A, GSTR 2B. Next, GSTR 3B is there. 3A is not there. 3B is there. Next, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9A, 9B, 9C. Next, GSTR 10, GSTR 11. Very easy. So need not write all this. If you write only 7 also, that is fine. They'll give you 5 marks. Next, they might ask you, what is input tax credit? State the condition to be fulfilled to avail input tax credit. So this one they might ask for 5 marks. So first you have to write the meaning of input tax credit. So what is input tax credit? So the tax paid on purchase of input, that is called input tax credit, or the tax paid on inputs purchased by the manufacturer for the furtherance of the business is called input tax credit. Next you have to write the conditions to avail input tax credit. So only the registered person can avail the input tax credit, and it should be in the possession of tax invoice. Yes, the person who registered, it should be in the possession of the tax invoice, and he should have received the goods or services, and the supplier should have actually paid the tax charge respect to the supply to the government, and he should have furnished the returns under section 39. So if you write this much, you get 5 marks. Next, question number 14. So from the following information, compute the assessable value. Yes, again, from customs duty, they might ask one more question for 5 marks. So directly they'll give you the FOB value. So it is 70,000 yens. Freight charges is given 21,000 yens. Insurance charges is given 7,000. Notified exchange rate notified by the board. Exchange rate notified by the board is rupees 80 paisa per hen. So by using this information, we have to solve and we have to find out the assessable value. So FOB value is given 70,000 yen into 80 paisa per hen. You will get 56,000 rupees. For that, add a transportation and insurance. So transportation and insurance is given. So directly we are taking those values. So totally you will get 78,400. So this 78,400 is called what? Accessible value. So if you do this much, you will get 5 marks. So in part A, they will be asking you question for 5 marks. You are supposed to attend 4 questions totally for 20 marks. In part B, they will be asking for 10 marks and you are supposed to attend any 3 questions. So totally you will be attending for 30. Part C, they will be asking for 15 marks. You will be attending 2 questions totally for 30. Totally 80 marks. So the weightage of this particular paper is 80 marks. So you are supposed to concentrate more on what? Yes, you are supposed to concentrate more on unit number 1, unit 2 and unit 6. So you have to concentrate more on unit 1, unit 2 and unit 6. So if you concentrate more on these 3 units, easily you can score more than 65 to 70 marks in your exam. Easily you can score 60 to 70 marks in your exam. So this is how your model question paper looks like, and from this model question paper you might get few questions in your exam. So I'm going to wish you all the very best and wish you good luck for your exams, for the students who are going to write the exam in the upcoming days. And once again, I wish you all the very best. Thank you all.